Basically, there are certain conditions that raise your risk to get breast cancer in a young age. And two reasons are genetic predisposition, as you all know very well, and then the fact of dense breast tissue itself is also a risk factor for breast cancer, not only in young women, but also in elderly women. So I see we have Dr. Funk here. Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Hello. Hello. This is Dr. Shimizu. I am honored to introduce Dr. Funk. Are you in Santa Monica now?
I am. I can see the ocean from here.
Okay. She's a breast surgeon who is very famous for operating Mrs. Angelina Jolie. Is that right?
That's
and
right.
Also, I know that you have some activities in nutrition as well. Is that correct?
I do. I'm board certified in lifestyle medicine, and I have deep knowledge of how nutrition affects cancer risk and outcome.
Okay, thank you. So could you start your lecture?
I'm here to talk to you about knowing your risk and focusing, of course, on breast cancer in young women. First, we're going to look at where the stats are trending. You may know that in 2020, breast surpassed lung to become the #1 malignant tumor on planet Earth. We have about 2.3 million new invasive breast cancers occurring every single year, with 685 deaths reported out last year, more expected this year, still more next year. So clearly breast cancer constitutes a major worldwide public health threat, and it remains a scientific, clinical, and societal challenge. Data from the Global Burden of Disease study was reporting out the assessment and projection of breast cancer and found the most significant rise is seen in those ages 45 to 49. So if we look at those rates in graph form, under 50, the incidence has been going steadily up in both North America and Europe, Central Asia since about 2012. We just reported out our new stats. It's 1.4% per year, every year since 2012 in those under 50, 0.7% increase in those over 50. But all other continents on planet Earth here have had a steady and relentless rise in incidence since 1990. The mortality rates have plummeted in higher socioeconomic regions, largely because over here in the 90s, we instituted mammography, right? So it's from earlier detection and the implementation of better and more timely treatments that has led to what has become a 1.3% year after year drop in the death rate from breast cancer in North America and Europe. However, all other countries, sadly, all of our sisters on Earth are seeing a steady and relentless rise in death. The WHO's response, swift and effective, was to start the global breast cancer initiative. And their goal is to reduce global breast cancer mortality by 2.5% per year, thereby averting 2.5 million breast cancer deaths globally between now and 2040. How are they going to do this? Their three pillars are early detection, timely diagnosis, and comprehensive management, which of course is all about reducing death from cancer that is diagnosed and diagnosed early. I would like to add a fourth objective of my own. The fourth pillar to me would be that we need to offer evidence-based health guidance starting in the teenage years. We need to create and implement enhanced interventions and treatments that reduce disease risk, because the easiest cancer to cure is the one you never get. Is this realistic? Can we, quote unquote, prevent cancer? A previous speaker said, yeah, maybe about 10%. I beg to differ enormously. Why? Well, let's understand this. One fact, only 20% of women with breast cancer have a family history of breast cancer, which makes the next fact make sense. And you probably know that only 5 to 10% of all women with breast cancer can attribute it to an inherited genetic mutation, such as BRCA, CHEK2, ATM, and the like. So while I'm not diminishing in any way the importance of global genetic testing to identify and appropriately manage these very high-risk individuals, I'm merely pointing out that these mutations do not account for the vast majority of breast cancer causation, nor are they changeable, right? So DNA mutations like BRCA exist or they don't, and so they could never explain the global increase in breast cancer burden, nor can we blame our moms and dads for why breast cancer is happening now at younger and younger ages year after year. Just like these inherited genetics, there are, as we know, other risk factors that we largely cannot change in our lives. So we should acknowledge them, but then I want to hyper focus on what we can change. So you can basically do nothing about being a woman or getting older, and why would you want to? You can't change your family history or your family, and you may want to. We can't do anything about inherited genetics, race and ethnicity, radiation to the chest wall for, say, treating Hodgkin's lymphoma, your height, your breast density, which was mentioned as a definite risk, early menarche, late menopause, a personal history of marker lesions, DES exposure, which stopped in the 70s and is less of an issue, and parity, which is somewhat under your control, but we're not going to advise teenage pregnancy for the sake of breast cancer reduction. So as much as these conditions seem fixed, they are really just bullets in a gun. Your choices pull the trigger. You do have agency over your health destiny. If we say there's 10% of all breast cancer attributable to genetics such as BRCA, and 5% is over here, like, it's inexplicable. It seems like it's fate and bad luck. It's happening in a 20-something who hasn't even lived long enough, badly enough to get this cancer explained by something. I would say this is a black box, but I bet we will elucidate even further some of the things that it's maybe an interplay between several unchangeable risk factors, which I listed, and maybe this unfortunate reality of understudied impact. For example, I just saw a study from 2023 found microplastics in 100% of the placentas of the women studied in Hawaii. And other studies showed microplastics in male testes, in meconium, infant feces, in breast milk. So maybe we're off to a bad start in utero and it gets worse from there. But my true focus right now is the big fat middle of this bell curve, where we have a solid, the science says 50% of all breast cancers can be prevented, eradicated from planet Earth by our choices. Let me explain. The key to protecting yourself from breast cancer as a young woman and forever is to understand that all of the following risk factors are largely under your direct control: nutrition, exercise, body weight, risky substance use like alcohol and tobacco, environmental toxicities, emotional stress, fasting, sleeping, microbiome alterations, and hormone therapies, including menopausal hormone therapy, oral contraceptives, IUDs, and the like. You're making choices all day long. And these top 10 things you can address. And when you address them, you unleash weapons, for better or worse, that alter the following factors inside of you. Estrogen levels. 80% of all breast cancers are fed and fueled by estrogen. IGF-1 and other growth promoters. Angiogenesis, the birth of new blood vessels to a cancer, which it must do if it aspires to be bigger than the tip of a ballpoint pen. Insulin sensitivity and resistance. All of this collides inside of you to elevate or decrease free radical formation and oxidative stress, which creates the inflammation that is the foundation for all health and illness. It leads to immune system function or dysfunction, cell damage and repair, or DNA mutations that are fixed or not. Each of these factors, in turn, fuel the microenvironment of a tumor, the fluids and cells that bathe, support, and fuel cancer, or seeks to destroy it. You choose every time you eat or don't eat, drink or don't drink, move or don't move, sleep or don't sleep, think or don't think something, forgive or don't forgive someone. You're messing with the water. You don't want to give this cancer rubber ducky all the bubbles and lavender salts and plush towels it needs to survive and thrive. No, you want to eat, drink, move, sleep, think, live strategically in an anti-cancer way, in an anti-angiogenic, anti-estrogenic, anti-IGF-1, anti-inflammatory way. And then all of a sudden, pop go the bubbles. There are no more lavender salts. And this little cancer rubber ducky's like, really? Plain water? I can't live in this. Poof, apoptosis. Let's think about nutrition for a minute. All health and illness kind of comes down to oxidative stress, right? Free radicals are unstable atoms. They lack an electron. They steal one from their neighbor, which then makes that neighbor unstable, and so on and so forth until there's consistent chaos internally. If more bad free radicals, oxidants, are hanging around than there is good antioxidants to stop it, then oxidative stress results. It becomes the name of the game. And when this imbalance persists day after day, years become decades, your body's cells and DNA just get too beat up. And really, whichever organs these free radicals are hitting the most frequently and severely determines what disease you'll get, right? If it's your blood vessels, heart disease; muscles, fibromyalgia; intestines, leaky gut; irritable bowel; your brain, dementia, Alzheimer's. And if there's excessive free radical damage in the breast, well, by the way, where are all these antioxidant heroes coming from? One place: plants. Oh no, I think animal products have some antioxidants. Do you? Well, plants on average carry 64 times the antioxidant power of meat, fish, eggs, and dairy. Let that sink in. So that means gram for gram, in order to ingest the antioxidant content in 1 cup of blueberries for 57 calories, you would need to eat, how many slices of cheese pizza do you think? 27.5 for a grotesque 7,500 calories and 323 grams of fat. It's not just that animal products lack antioxidants, it's also what they create, or what you create in response to them. So meet frenemy number 1, IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. It is such a useful molecule. This growth promoter is telling everything in your body to grow, 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 which is super useful when you're a child becoming an adult. And we turn over 50 billion cells a day. So thanks, IGF-1, for replacing and repairing my cells. But what does IGF-1 do when it's done the deeds of the day? It's just still screaming at cells to grow cancer, grow metastases into the liver, into the lung, into the bone. Somebody needs to slow this IGF-1 down. And it turns out you're that someone, because elevations beyond the daily task needs only occur in IGF-1 as a response, for the most part, to animal protein, never plant protein, except in real excess that you'll never eat. So this study, for example, followed 6,000 adults over 50 for 18 years. In those ages 50 to 65, higher animal protein levels led to a 430% increase in cancer death and 74 times the rate of type 2 diabetes. And investigators showed that IGF-1 was the important moderator of this association between protein and mortality. And those proteins only happened when they were derived from animals, never plants. This study from the Endogenous Hormones and Breast Cancer Collaborative Group looked at IGF-1 levels in cases of breast cancer versus controls. And for premenopausal women who had the highest levels of IGF-1, there was a 21% increase in breast cancer and 33% for postmenopausal. So it's not just what your body makes or lacks antioxidants from when you eat animal protein. It's also what's just naturally in the meat: nitrates and heme iron. Some people might call this processed meat friendly names like hot dog and sausage and bacon and deli meats and a charcuterie board. But the IARC, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, calls them potentially deadly. In July 2015, the IARC met. There were 22 researchers from 10 different countries pouring over 800 epidemiologic studies simply to answer one question or two. Does red meat cause cancer? Does processed meat cause cancer? And they definitively put all processed meat, all of it, as a class 1 carcinogen, meaning it is absolutely carcinogenic to all humans with the same level of certainty that we have for asbestos, plutonium, smoking, alcohol, and it classified all red meat as probably carcinogenic to humans. This study on red meat followed 90,000 premenopausal women for 12 years. 1,000 breast cancer cases happened. There was a 14% increase in breast cancer for women consuming over 3 up to 5 servings a week of red meat versus what? Black bean burgers? No, versus less 3 or fewer servings of red meat a week. And a 42% increase in breast cancer for those eating greater than 5 servings per week. This study looking at premenopausal dietary fat showed that there was a positive association between early adult intake, all right, and animal fat. So it's not even just the things in the meat like fat, trans fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, the nitrates and the heme ions, because guess what else? Carcinogens, potent ones, get created. How would you like to eat your steak? Raw, rare, medium rare, well done? You better like steak tartare, because the heat, when you cook, the creatinine in meat plus heat equals polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and heterocyclic amines that form from pan frying and grilling and barbecuing meat. Does it matter? It matters. There's a 54% increase in breast cancer for hamburger consumers, 64% for bacon lovers, 121% for beefsteak, and if you love all three, 362% increase in breast cancer for women who eat these meats. Well done. Versus black bean burger, anyone? No. Versus those who choose to eat their meat rare or medium rare. So all of that risk is from the carcinogens of high heat cooking exclusively, and it never happens when you cook a vegetable burger or you char your broccoli. So where would you get safe protein from then if you can't eat these meats? I'm going to recommend soy. This Shanghai study, 73,000 women eating high versus low soy consumption, 59% drop in premenopausal breast cancer. This study, Asian Americans ate a very wimpy 1.5 soy servings a week. I advise 2 to 3 servings a day for everyone. Decreased adult onset breast cancer by 58%. This study, Korean BRCA gene mutation carriers, 43% drop, even in estrogen negative cancer, high versus low soy consumption. What if you already have breast cancer? You better double down on that soy. There's a 60% decrease in recurrence. In this study, 21% all-cause mortality drop, 32% drop in death for ER positive, 51% ER negative, 32% for recurrence and mortality in this study of 5,000, 9,500, half a cup of soy milk a day, wimpy, 25% drop in recurrence. I could go on, I could explain why, but I don't have time. The bottom line with food is that you want to start encouraging from childhood on a whole food plant-based diet that prioritizes vegetables, fruits, 100% whole grains, and legumes like beans, peas, lentils, whole food soy, ground flaxseed. I want the world to eliminate meat, poultry, fish, dairy, eggs. We should minimize saturated fat and processed foods. We need to eliminate dietary trans fat and cholesterol, which only comes from animals. There's zero in any plant food. Eliminate simple sugars, refined cereals, and ultra-processed foods. We need to focus on alcohol consumption. This increases estrogen. It forms a potent carcinogen, acetaldehyde. It impairs immune function. It does a whole host of other real bad things inside of you. There is no level of alcohol consumption that is safe for your body. There is no alcohol type that is healthy. I know, red wine drinkers, I can argue with you. 5 ounces of wine equals 12 ounces of beer equals 1.5 ounces of hard liquor. A drink a day increases premenopausal breast cancer by 7%, postmenopausal 13%. 2 drinks a day, 15% risk, 25 to 30 for postmenopausal. You can add another 10% per drink thereafter. Another huge risk factor that is totally under our control, and that is a rising catastrophe across the globe, and that is obesity. Being overweight or obese without any question or controversy contributes to a 50 to 250% increase in breast cancer occurrence, recurrence, and death. There are numerous pathways and reasons for this that are so interesting. And these studies I'm quoting here are, very recent, from 2019 to 22. That we're just starting to uncover. It's not just that they have elevated estrogen from the aromatase conversion. Leptin is a major player in turning on oncogenes. Adipose activates macrophages that create inflammation. Insulin in high levels is a direct cancer promoter. It does all sorts of things to stop apoptosis, increase angiogenesis, increases IGF-1. Here's the good news. If you lose the weight, you lose the risk. This prospective study of 33,000 women showed that in that time of 15 years, about 2,000 cancers happened. There were lower rates in anyone who just lost weight. And the sooner the better. I know premenopausal fat is somehow protective against breast cancer, but you're really, really unlikely to suddenly drop it and become normal weight the second you go through menopause. So there's a 64% drop in breast cancer for premenopausal weight loss, 52% if you postmenopausal weight lose weight, 34% drop in breast cancer for just maintaining weight. So the more women lost and the younger they lost it, the better their protection was, particularly the premenopausal women, but all of the losers won. And this matters. Another fact from the IARC is that 25% of all breast cancer cases worldwide are due to the deadly combination of obesity and a sedentary lifestyle. Exercise helps metabolize that excess estrogen and the fat. It lessens inflammatory markers. It stokes your immune system, so much so that even literally just briskly walking for 11 minutes a day has been shown to drop breast cancer by 18%. But if you put a little pep in your step and really bump it up, 3 to 4 hours per week of moderate to vigorous exercise has a 30 to 40 lower incidence of breast cancer versus sedentary women. And if you're a real super duper workouter, the more the better. Over 4 hours, 57% drop in breast cancer. Ideal targets are going to be 2.5 hours a week, 150 minutes. This is where you're going to start to plateau, but look, you never plateau. And the absolute gold standard would be 5 hours a week of cardio. I'm not including weightlifting in this benefit and impact. If you want to learn more and for a number of free resources in English and Spanish, go to letsbeatbreastcancer.org, where I work annually with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine to bring this campaign to the world. And we encourage women and men to take this 4-week challenge to eat plant-based, exercise regularly, decrease alcohol, and maintain ideal body weight to maximally reduce their chances of